Things are heating up in Phoenix, and this could ultimately unlock the Suns. As we saw Mike Budenholzer make some changes with the roster, but specifically yesterday, benching Yusuf Nurkic in some center play, and the Suns need to address that center hole. With them being linked to Nick Richards, I dove into that, plus some other articles looking at some other centers that the Suns could still go out to improve Mike Budenholzer's center rotation, which is a clear issue for this Suns team. We're going to be looking at all of this and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez. And like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support on the channel over the last couple of weeks, which has been super, super supportive over here on Suns Digest. But we do want to let you know that roughly around 80% of you guys who watch our videos today are not subscribed. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything revolving around this Suns team, trades, rumors, post games, live streams weekly on Thursdays, which was absolutely fantastic yesterday. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and let us know down below in the comment section what you ultimately think about this Suns team and all of this turmoil that they are in. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And we're going to be looking at the Phoenix Suns here, as this is nice to see from the Phoenix Suns, as we ultimately got to see them get a big time win and Mike Budenholzer make some changes. As like I mentioned in yesterday's video, we went over in our post game how Mike Budenholzer finally gave Yusuf Nurkic a DNP, giving Ozer Iguodala more of the center minutes, and it ultimately produced the Suns a victory. So if you want to find more details about that, you could check out about that. But with that being said, we now know that the center issues is mandatory and something needs to be done. So we saw a report coming from Evan Sidery here, which reports and says that the Bucks, Kings, Knicks, Lakers, Nuggets, and Suns are among the teams recently expressing trade interest in center Nick Richards. Now, Richards is averaging 9.2 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game as a versatile rebounding, big, and rim protector. The Hornets are also open to moving some of their veteran centers for future draft capital. Now, the Suns are a little bit restricted in that future draft capital, but we saw Nick Richards play against this Suns team just this week, and he put on a fantastic showing. 15 points, 12 rebounds, absolutely dominating this Suns team, protecting the rim, and was one of their main focal points for why the Suns lost that game versus the Hornets, was they couldn't get any interior pressure comparative to what they could have gotten versus that 76ers team the night before. And that's what led a lot of fans really questioning this. But Nick Richards might have just had himself an audition for this Suns team here. And I think he could be one of those guys the Suns could ultimately get. His contract is a little bit affordable as well. And I want to know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. As we just saw Nick Richards go up against this Suns team, making $5 million, do you guys think he'd be a viable center for the Suns to go out and get to kind of be a filler center for this year and for next? And ultimately, what do you think it would cost the Suns? I don't think it would mean that much. Like I said, he only makes $5 million, so they could move one of those contracts. It might have to cost a player in Josh Okogie, but if that's the case, to get you that rebounding center, you have to make that move. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. But we're also going to be looking at some more moves that the Suns can be making as well. So we're going to go over some other potential options this team could address at the center position to really unlock this team. Because like I mentioned, with this team still having Beal off the bench, it could still work. With having Butler kind of being those rumors and trying to get him in, that could still work. But regardless if they keep Beal or if they go and get Butler, the center issue is still a problem and needs to be addressed. So we're going to be looking at an article here courtesy of Last Word, where we're going to be looking at some top centers that the Phoenix Suns should target. And look who wrote that article. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is me. That's right. If you want to get more Suns stuff, if you are a big Suns fan and you do enjoy my Suns content besides video format and you want to get more, check out my writings for Last Word and some sporadic writings for Bright Side of the Sun as well. We'll be getting some of those articles featured in these videos. But I wrote this article last night, right around before I went live, and it got published this morning, so I wanted to look at it for this video today, looking at some centers that the Suns should target. And we're going to be looking at some possible names, one of those being Robert Williams. And in this article, I said that the Suns obviously should target Robert Williams as he's a viable backup center at this time. But ultimately, do they want to do another deal with the Blazers after the last deal they did was not the greatest for a center, acquiring Yusuf Nurkic? That ultimately is the case. And with Robert Williams, he is a solid rim protector, is a solid shot blocker. The only question with Robert Williams is can he consistently stay healthy? And that question has still remained this season. If we want to look at Robert Williams' stats so far for the season, we can see he's having pretty solid numbers doing what he does best. 6.6 points, 5 rebounds. That's what he's going to do. 1.7 blocks per game, 77% field goal percentage, being solid, finishing around the rim as a lobster, and could be a viable piece for the Suns, like I mentioned. But the one thing that does scare me, like I said, is his injury history and how he's been injured for a lot of times for his career. And with the Suns being a team already dealing with the injury bug last year and this year, adding another player that could potentially be out or be a limiting factor in playing time with this team, I think is a red flag. Not to mention that he makes around $12 million. So for the Suns to be able to acquire a player in Robert Williams, they would have to send out either Yusuf Nurkic or Grayson Allen. And necessarily, I don't necessarily know that's a big time move that they want to make for a player in Robert Williams, specifically moving off Yusuf Nurkic, who's going to want that contract for Robert Williams. The Blazers aren't going to want it back. And moving off Grayson Allen for Robert Williams might necessarily be the upgrade that the Suns want at center. Another one that I broke down as well was Nick Richards in this article, as we mentioned earlier, as well from Evan Cedery. But I also think that Nick Richards could be a valuable piece for this Suns team. Like I mentioned, he's playing very, very solid. And in this last game versus the Suns, he put up 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks by putting on an audition for this squad. And like I mentioned as well earlier, his contract is pretty cheap, where he's only making $5 million this year and $5 million next year. So the Suns would be able to get a player like Nick Richards. Might have to use some of that secondary draft capital, some of those second round picks to move off of to get a deal done for Nick Richards, but that's okay with me. I'm willing to sell some of those Nuggets second round picks. Like I said, this Suns team needs to win games to even make the play and make the playoffs to secure themselves a true spot in the West. So you have to go in with some of these moves and make these plays. And I truly think Nick Richards can bring some really solid sentimental value for this Suns team as a rim protector, as he can play starter minutes, he can play backup minutes, and it also ultimately allows the Suns to possibly go in and get another big, as well as Nick Richards only makes around $5 million. He could be a little bit of a cheaper asset, could be someone that could be in the long run for this team with Oso Ighodaro. But lastly, the next player I want to dive in and look at as well is Duop Reath, as Duop Reath has also been on the Portland Trail Blazers, which raises a little bit of concern, but he's been shelved on the Blazers bench as guys like Donovan Clingan, their rookie, have surpassed him. DeAndre Ayton, they're obviously playing, and Robert Williams has been playing pretty solid as well, which has led Duop Reath, the 28-year-old sophomore, to kind of be left in the sky over in Portland. And I think that for a Suns team that desperately needs rebounding, definitely needs center help, why not take a flyer on Reath? Also with Reath, his contract is very, very cheap, even cheaper than Nick Richards at $2 million this year. So the Suns could ultimately just bring on Duop Reath's contract onto the team for selling out some small capital, or could use a player like Bull's contract, who hasn't gotten a lot of run in this front court, even though Yusuf Nurkic got benched. We saw Bol get 0 minutes tonight. He could be an experimental piece for Portland while the Suns get back a valuable player in Reath. If we want to look at these player stats, like I mentioned, Nick Richards having a solid season, 9.2 points, 7.7 rebounds, 1.3 blocks. And for Reath, having a little bit of a downer season on the stats, but like I mentioned, has not played a lot for this Blazers team, has only really gotten some run with this squad when they are dealing with some injuries, averaging 2.6 points, 1 rebound, 41% for the field, 37% from 3. But he could be a solid marginal big for this team. And once again, like I mentioned, could be a guy that they could add just as a piece around the edges. I could see a guy like Duop Reath and Nick Richards both being added to this front court team, replacing Yusuf Nurkic and kind of filling in those holes for Mason Plumlee and Oso Ighodaro, to where Duop and Nick Richards are those main guys, or maybe you throw Oso in or Mason in for different looks, or if you want to go a little bit more offensively, throw a guy like Oso in. Want to go a little bit more defensively, use a guy like Plumlee. And I think that gives the Suns a little bit more expendable options to kind of really decide in playing with matchups, because right now the Suns have too many guys on their roster that are so much of a similar role: scorers, shooters, guys that need the ball in their hands to get the basket. And that Suns ultimately can't win these games, as we've seen this season, with a team built like this. So they need to go out, they still need to address some holes on this roster, some roles that are not found on this team, to kind of compete with some of those top teams across the West. And ultimately, even if they do make these moves, I truly don't think that they're in the top stratosphere of the West this season. I think kind of competing for a playoff spot is the goal here at this very moment, at how bad the Suns have kind of fallen out. But as long as the Suns secure a playoff spot or a play-in spot, are able to at least give us one win in the playoffs and not get swept, possibly even win a playoff series, I think I view that as a huge win as a Suns fan going into next season after the turmoil kind of weak, shaky start this year. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, what you guys ultimately think, how you guys feel about this team as we went over this center position, as I think that all three of these guys, like I said, could truly unlock this team. Jusuf Nurkic not playing, Suns can win without him. Do not hold on to that $18 million. Try to find a way to get off that money, regardless of what it takes. But without further ado, like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. I'm about to sign off. I want to know all your thoughts, so drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.